Okay, so I think everyone knows the game 7 Minutes in Heaven, and I've talked about this so many times on the channel, but today's story is about doing 7 Minutes in Heaven at a slumber party. And what happens in the slumber party was the most bizarre thing, but at the same time embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me in a long time. So obviously, before we get into the story, make sure you guys press that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, means a lot when you guys do. And let's just jump straight into this embarrassing story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to a super embarrassing story time. So today's story all takes place back when I was in grade 11. Now in grade 11, I'm not gonna lie to you, one thing I was usually invited to was parties, but the way I was invited to this party was the most weirdest invite ever, because I remember I was sitting in the cafeteria just eating my sandwich in the middle of lunchtime, and I remember this girl ends up walking up to me. Now this girl, she was a part of the cheerleading team in the school, and well, let's just say her walking up to me was very bizarre, because yes, I did play rugby, but no, I never really had a good reputation with the cheerleaders because most of them did hate me. But this one girl did not hate me, and she was hosting a house party that was happening, and when she came up to me, she said, "Hey Bubba, I'm hosting this crazy party at my place tomorrow. I was wondering if you wanted to like join in." Yeah, sure, I'm in for a party. What time is it at? Oh, it's starting like really late at like 10, but make sure you bring your pajamas. Why am I bringing my pajamas? Well, like obviously, aren't you gonna stay the night? You want me to stay the night? Now at this point, I thought she wanted me to like, you know, stay the night and me and her could do the devil's tango. And you know, maybe like she wanted to like make something between us happen, you know what I mean? And I wasn't gonna say no because she was a hot cheerleader. But then she ended up saying, well, yeah, but also I want everyone else to stay the night too. Like it's a slumber party. Oh, it's a slumber party. Yeah, sure, I'm in. Yeah. What time is it at? Well, it starts at 9 and everyone leaves tomorrow morning before 12. Okay, yeah, cool. I'll be there. Now, when I heard about a slumber party happening, obviously I found it really weird because what kind of girl hosts a party with guys and girls having a sleepover? Like it's never been seen before, nor ever been said until today. And I remember I was so confused on how that was gonna work. I ended up going to some of my buddies that were probably gonna get invited to this party. When I went up to them, I said, yo, guys, I was just curious. Are you guys invited to this party that's going on this weekend? Nah, bro, I never got invited to that party. Apparently, like, a lot of girls are going, so they're trying to make it, like, more girls than guys. So if you were invited, like, good stuff, bro. I remember he ended up dabbing me up, and I was so confused on what was going on because, like, why was I invited? Obviously, I found this weird, but at the same time, I got really excited when he told me that more girls were going than guys, to the point where, I'm not gonna lie to you, I knew this party was gonna be one to remember. And oh boy, it was. Because what ends up happening next was really, really weird. I remember the next day, it was a Saturday, and basically, I didn't have school, and I kind of just ended up doing my house chores and everything and playing Call of Duty in the morning. And then when it came towards the nighttime, I remember I got my PJs on, and I got my sleeping bag, and I basically prepared my car and drove over to this girl's house. When I got to this girl's house, I remember I was like really excited to see who was gonna be there because obviously, like my friend said earlier, there was a lot more girls than guys going. And when I got to the front door, I remember instantly, out of nowhere, this girl ends up answering the door that absolutely hated me. I am not joking when I say this. Like, this girl was the definition of an emo girl that just hated all the good things in life, including me. And I remember she looked at me saying, oh, okay, well, welcome to the party. Everyone's over there, Bubba. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, I'll see you there, I guess. And I remember I ended up going into the party, and I was just basically having a good time drinking, which, by the way, do not underage drink, guys. It is not a smart thing to do, and also it is not cool. The only reason I did it was to pretend to be cool. Going on with the story, I remember basically there was a lot of people there, and mostly a lot of girls, like my friend said. And I remember me, I was just hopping girl to girl, trying to talk to each and every single one of them. Obviously, there was like 3 other guys there, but what can I say? I think I was the only guy at the rugby team at the time, and honestly, a lot of these girls were basically, I guess, trying to, you know, have a good time with like a certain guy. It was one of the most weirdest situations ever because I never had that many girls surrounding me at once. Well, I mean, I did, but not this time back when I was in grade 11. And then out of nowhere, I remember when everyone was there, finally, it was around like 10 o'clock at night. One of the girls ended up going on top of a table saying, oh my goodness, guys, we should play a game. We should all play 7 Minutes in Heaven. Now, this is where the story gets really weird because when she announced that, a lot of girls were on board. And me and the 3 other guys that were there just kept looking at each other thinking, is this really a good idea to do with this many girls? Obviously, though, we didn't really care. We were all excited to be there. So we all ended up sitting in a circle. And basically, I remember I sat beside the party host and she handed me the bottle that we were spinning for choosing who gets to go in the closet first. And she gave it to me saying, okay, Bubba, you spin. Yeah, okay, I'll spin. And I remember once I placed that bottle down, I spun it and it landed on the girl that hated my guts. Yeah, the one that answered the door in the beginning. She basically ended up getting the bottle landed on her and she looks at me saying, oh, you gotta be joking. I remember she didn't want to get up and nor did I, but then the host of the party said, guys, you have to obey the rules. Just get in the closet for like 7 minutes. It won't kill you. I remember me and her, we ended up just looking at each other. We both stood up at the same time, really awkwardly, and we both ended up walking into the closet. When we went in there, I remember me and this girl, we didn't know what the issue was between each other. We didn't understand why we hated each other, nothing. So I remember I looked at her and basically with the lights on in the closet, I said, I'm just curious, why do you hate me? Like, what did I do to you? What did you do to me? Are you really gonna ask that right now? Baba, you literally did the devil's tango with one of my friends and never called her back. You know how much that hurt her feelings? Oh, wait, so that's what you're mad about? Because something I did to your friend? Not even to you? You don't know how it feels. I don't know how it feels to be left after doing the devil's tango. Well, I mean, I guess. I don't know. Wait, why is that such a big issue? And me and her, we ended up yelling at each other inside the closet, and it was pretty obvious everyone outside of the closet heard us yell at each other. And then I remember as things kept getting heated and heated in that closet, me and her just kept yelling and yelling and yelling at each other. It got to a point where me and her, we got so close to the point where we started making out. I don't know how. I guess, you know, in the heat in the moment, me and her just both thought since we leaned into each other and since we were in a really tight space, we just start making out for some reason. And that wasn't even the craziest part, because later on she ended up grabbing my pants and yeah, we ended up doing the devil's tango. I will say this much, it was one of the most awkward high school experiences I've had in a closet, but I mean, it was 7 minutes in heaven. In a way, we still had like, what, 4 minutes left to do whatever we wanted after yelling at each other for like the other, like, what, 5 minutes? So I mean, it is what it is. But if you guys thought the story ended there, no, because let's just say after we came out of the closet, everyone started basically looking at each other confused of how we went from yelling at each other to basically going dead silent and doing our own thing, in which I don't blame them for being confused. Me and her, we decided not to say anything that happened because we decided that me and her, we just hate each other. Now, I think this next part of the story really made me question everything that happened in that party, because things get even weirder between me and this girl. Because I remember later on at night, it became like, I want to say like 11:30 to 12 almost, and a lot of people were getting tired. So I remember I basically got my bed set up and everything, and I ended up sleeping in the living room close to the other 3 other dudes that were there. We basically hogged the TV and started watching a movie together as just the guys, even though we barely knew each other because we're all from like different sectors of school. If you guys don't know what I mean by that, basically like one was like, you know, a nerd, the other one was like a rugby player, which was me, the other one was like a theater kid. Like, it was just like the most weirdest group of guys that you will never see end up hanging out together. And I remember as we were watching this movie, most of us ended up passing out except me, because I can't sleep during movies. It just doesn't make sense to me to sleep halfway through a movie. But then out of nowhere, I ended up hearing footsteps coming down the stairs. I looked to go see who it was, and I ended up seeing that it was the girl that hated me. She looked over at me and said, "Baba, come here. Come here, Baba." I remember when I went upstairs and said, "Yo, like, what's going on?" She said, "Baba, honestly, after what you did to my friend, you really made me upset. And honestly, I'm gonna punish you my way." Me and her, we ended up going into another room, which was the most weirdest thing ever, because we ended up going into her parents' room of all rooms. And me and her, we ended up doing the devil's tango almost all night in that room with the girl that literally hated me. It made no sense how this happened, and honestly, I was super confused. But let's just say the next morning when me and her both woke up, things got super awkward, because I remember all my friends ended up basically waking up earlier than us, and they basically ended up seeing me and this girl in the host's parents' room. And yeah, let's just say things got really awkward, and obviously me and her, we had to explain to everyone how basically, like, you know, it was a mistake, even though I guess in a way it really wasn't, because afterwards me and her, we became friends with benefits, which didn't last long. But hey, it is what it is. I remember me and this waitress, we went into the walk-in cooler because we had to spend 7 minutes in there. And I remember once we got in there, she said, "Honestly, Bubba, like, I always thought you were like super cute." Like, what? Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another really embarrassing, but I gotta say, crazy story. This story all takes place back when I was in grade 12, or technically speaking, I was actually graduated high school. So I was straight out of high school. I was 18 years old, and to be honest, at this time, the only thing I focused on was my future and trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. But back after when I graduated high school, I ended up working at a restaurant because, well, I wasn't a content creator yet, so this wasn't a full-time thing until you guys made it happen, which thank you guys so much for that, by the way. But going on with the story, I worked at a restaurant for a bit, and I remember I actually really liked it. The restaurant I worked at was very laid back, and it was really kind of just chill, and a lot of the people I worked with were also super young, around my age. And even though our managers were a lot older than us, like I want to say in their 30s about to hit 40s, they would basically be super laid back, trying to be cool kids like us apparently, or to get to relate to us. I don't know, a lot of adults do this, which is really cool in my opinion, but at the same time, it could lead to a lot of trouble. But I remember one time when I was working a shift, out of nowhere, I ended up seeing my manager walk up to us saying, "Hey guys, in the kitchen, real quick, I got an announcement. We're going to be doing kind of a after party on Friday, very late at night. If you guys are able to make it, please tell me. We're going to be trying to have everyone that works here together and closing down the restaurant for it." At this moment, a lot of us were like down for it, obviously, and we were all pretty excited to see what was going to go on. But as for me, I'm going to be honest with you, I was kind of on the fence about it because I didn't really get along with anybody, nor did I really like socialize with anyone at the workspace. I mostly just kept to myself because, well, I don't know, it was a very stressful time back when I was just graduating high school. school, and I didn't think too much of it. So while all the guys in the kitchen that I worked in ended up going up to the manager, signing up their name, I remember after my shift, I ended up basically getting ready to leave, and while I was at my locker getting ready, my manager ends up walking in saying, "Hey, Bubba, you're the one guy in the kitchen that didn't walk up to me trying to join this party. You're not down to join in? Like, what's going on with you, man?" I don't know. I got a lot of things going on, I guess. I don't know. I might go. I'm not really sure. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, Bubba. A lot of the girls in the front of house want to see you there, so my opinion, just show up, man. It's good for work. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't surprised that he wanted me to go, but when he said the front of house wanted me to go, that's when I was kind of shocked, because I didn't really speak to any of them other than when I had to put like glasses away at the front bar. So at this moment, I was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, sure, I'll show up, I guess. I'll make an appearance. Okay, awesome. I can't wait to see you there. And he ends up walking away. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Even though I told him that I would show up, in my mind, I actually really did not want to show up. In my opinion, I was probably gonna just say like I had a final I had to study for or something, because at the same time, I'd rather just be home playing video games instead of hanging out at work. Like, I don't know what kind of people like to stay at their workplace and hang out, but definitely was not for me. So I remember the next day, I ended up basically going into work, and I decided to just do my normal shifts because I usually worked around 4 shifts a week. But then I realized when I went to go look at the schedule that the schedule has changed, and I ended up getting a closing shift on Friday. Now, once again, like my manager said earlier, Friday was the party. So no matter what, even though I was closing, afterwards would be right away the party. So at that point, I was like, you know what? There's no point of me leaving and just calling in sick because I'm going to be there anyway. So I remember Friday rolls around, and I remember I ended up basically working the shift. And at the start of my shift, I started to realize that there was a lot of people that I worked with just hanging out the whole time when I was working. It got really annoying because they would order food and then I would have to make food and then wash their dishes. It was just really upsetting. But then right after, as the restaurant closed fully and basically they were all getting ready for the party, I was basically cleaning up the kitchen as fast as I could to see if I could sneak out of there and not get noticed. But right as I was about to finish cleaning, out of nowhere, I ended up seeing a waitress that I worked with end up coming to the back and saying, "Hey, Bubba, are you done? Because everyone's ready for you and waiting for you, actually." Wait, everyone's waiting for me? Well, yeah, it's the party, dummy. Like, aren't you gonna come hang out? Now, at this moment, I'm not gonna lie to you. The waitress that was talking to me that worked at the front of house was really attractive, and honestly, I probably could use a good distraction. I basically tried to make my mind up and make it a good idea to go to this party. So me still being in my uniform, I ended up going to the front of house and I ended up hanging out with everyone, and it was actually a pretty good time. Even though most of them were a lot older than me by like a year or two, I will say this, it was really fun hanging out with everyone, kind of getting along with people that I never really talked to in the workplace. But then I want to say this is where things got really, really weird, because I remember our manager, like I said earlier, he tries to act young and basically try to be cool. And right after he finished with this bottle he was drinking, he ended up standing on top of a table at the restaurant. He ends up yelling out, "All right, guys, let's play spin the bottle." At this moment, I remember it was so funny because all the kitchen staff, including me, were just looking at each other, and then all the waitresses were just kind of hyped up and excited. And me, I'm just kind of thinking like, is this really a good idea? Like, do you really want to poop where you eat? Like, is this safe? Is this even something I should bring up to HR because like it's our manager saying it? I don't know. I didn't want to play, but then obviously our manager started pushing all of us towards this table, and we all sat down, and he got on top of the table and started spinning the bottle. I remember all of us just ended up staring at that bottle, basically praying that it wouldn't land on any of us. But one by one, people started going into the cooler and basically, you know, doing the 7 minutes in heaven, which if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically when you spin a bottle and wherever it lands on from the person spinning the bottle, they have to spend 7 minutes with that person in a private room, and anything could happen in that 7 minutes. And by anything, I mean anything. So me, I remember I basically saw a lot of people spinning and going in and out, and it got to a point where it got pretty boring for some people. But then out of nowhere, I remember there was a girl that ended up spinning the bottle, and this girl was the girl that actually came to the back of the house back when I was actually finishing up my shift, and the one that invited me into the restaurant for the party. She ends up spinning the bottle, and me, I'm just sitting there just like seeing this bottle spin around and around and around until it finally ended up landing on me. She looks at me in shock, but at the same time, not like a shock like she didn't want to do it, in a shock like she was ready to take me back there. And I remember I stood up while everyone was like going, "Ooh." And I'm just kind of panicking, thinking, okay, you know what? This will be in and out. Just maybe we could just talk about work and just move on. We go back there, and instantly, right as we enter inside the cooler, she looks at me and says, "Bubba, you know, I've always kind of like thought you were cute, right?" What? I mean, I don't know. I'm just playing the game, okay? Just go along with it. Well, I mean, like, it's supposed to be 7 minutes in heaven. So are you like being honest with me? And at that moment, she ends up coming really close to me, and she actually ends up making out with me. And while one thing led to another, I'm not gonna lie, I never did the devil's tango. Less than 7 minutes until that day. I remember right afterwards, I ended up up basically putting on my uniform again, and she put on hers because we were both working the late night shift. And basically we ended up coming out and we ended up going straight into the restaurant where everyone else was. And when everyone saw us come back, this girl was like perfectly smiling while I was like coming in, basically kind of like in shock kind of what just happened. And it was very obvious to everyone that she got some. And I remember my manager ended up walking up to me saying, yo, Bubba, did I tell you you're gonna enjoy this party or what? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I felt super uncomfortable that my manager said that to me. But not only that, the next couple weeks leading on from that happening, I am not joking, my manager would always bring up that moment. And this girl, she would always, and I mean always, try to hit me up, ask me on a date, all this stuff, to the point where I ended up actually just quitting. I ended up quitting the restaurant job because, well, there was so much drama that would happen, and I guess that's what happened when a lot of young people end up working at the restaurant. I don't know, my opinion, don't poop where you eat. This is a common saying that everyone needs to understand. 7 minutes in heaven. This story is one of the most insane stories that I'm probably gonna ever tell on this channel. But before I do get into the story, I just want to mention that you guys should really quickly leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And did I mention I'm live on Twitch as we speak right now? So I am literally live. Make sure you guys go click the link down in the description below and watch me live streaming to you guys and telling more of these insane stories. Also, not to mention as well, you guys should definitely go watch the Fortnite girlfriend series on the Bubba channel. Seriously, I'm stuck with my Fortnite girlfriend. She's currently living with me and she's probably with me live as well. So if you guys do want to go check out the Fortnite series, click in the description down below as well and go into the Bubba channel and check out what's going on there. Other than that, let's get straight into this crazy story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba and welcome back to another insane story. So recently, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, you guys have been crushing with these stories, and there's one story I haven't told yet because, well, it's a pretty basic story, and I think we all know the game 7 minutes in heaven. If you guys don't know the game, basically you get a chick or a guy, or I don't know which way you swing, and basically you go into a closet with them for 7 minutes, and whatever happens in those 7 minutes can be anything. You guys could kiss, you guys could cuddle, you guys could talk about your dirtiest secrets, or you guys could just do what I do all the time and just straight up do the devil's tango. Because, well, yeah, what else is there to do in a small closet? But there's one particular time where 7 minutes in heaven did not come by my side was the worst time. And I'll tell you guys, and it all starts in the very beginning. I remember back when I was in high school, this was my grade 11 year, and I was just a basic kid in grade 11. I'm not gonna lie. Yes, I was known by a lot of girls for doing the devil's tango, but at the same time, I was a basic dude. And I remember basically going to go hang out with my friends and stuff, because I do have a couple guy groups I would go hang out with and just, you know, be hanging out with the boys. If you guys don't know, the boys are like a common thing that everyone has. But I remember one of the boys came up to me, and it was just a simple guy. It was kind of a cool friend. He walked up to me saying, yo, Bubba, like, bro, like, I'm having a party at my place, bro. Like, it's gonna be a really good party. Like, can you please, like, come and hang out as well? I remember I looked at him and I'm like, bro, like, what do you mean it's a party? Like, how many people is it? He ended up saying, dude, there's like gonna be like 15 people so far, but I know if you go, then I can get more chicks going. You know what I'm saying? Basically, what I meant by that was basically if I went to the party, more girls would end up going, because, well, if you guys don't know, like I said earlier, I was a lady slayer. A lot of girls knew that I was really good at doing the devil's tango. So in a way, I mean, you know, I guess they all want a piece of the pie or the eggplant or the watermelon. I don't know. There's a lot of fruits out there, okay? Anyways, I remember telling him, you know what? Yeah, sure, buddy. I'll go. I'm down to go. We can go chill and stuff, and yeah, it's gonna be lit. I'm down. What time do I head out there? He told me, yo, just be there at like 7 o'clock, and yeah, just bring whoever you want, man. You got free entry. I said bet, and then yeah, basically he invited me to the damn party. It was pretty chill and it was pretty awesome. You know, me getting invited to it. But I remember as I started walking away and heading to my next class, there was another chick that walks up to me, and this chick was no ordinary chick. This chick was actually, funny enough, the party host's ex-girlfriend. So remember, the person that just invited me to the party, yeah, this is his ex-girlfriend walking up to me. She walked up to me and she's like, oh my goodness, like, did he literally just invite you to his party? And are you actually gonna be ending up going? I ended up telling her, yeah, I'm going. Like, why not? It's like, he's my bro, you know, like, why not? And after that, she tells me, Bubba, you know, he only wants you there because of the girls, right? And I told him, so I generally don't care. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't care. Like, I had no idea why she was complaining. And then she tells me, okay, well, like, if you're gonna go, then like, let me go with you. As she comes up closer to me and basically, you know, putting her arm around my waist, I push her off and say, yo, you need to chill. I know what you're trying to do. Like, I'm not like that. And then she basically ends up looking at me with her wide eyes open saying, please just let me go with you. Like, come on. Like, I haven't been to his house in forever. And like, you know, I do really need a good party ever since we broke up. Sure. That's literally what I said. I said, sure. Honestly, I don't know why I did. You guys can hate me in the comments down below, but like, I said, sure. Honestly, I didn't care. So I remember she was all smiling and giggling and she's like, oh my goodness, like, yes, you're taking me. And then she says, okay, well, like, can you pick me up at like 7 o'clock with your car? I ended up telling her, yeah, like, don't worry about it. Like, I'll pick you up. And she got all excited and ended up walking away. When she walked away, I remember I kind of just like started walking like to my next class. class again. And basically from there, I remember my buddy ended up walking up to me again, the guy who invited me in the first place, saying, yo, like, is it true, like, you're bringing my ex-girlfriend? I ended up telling him, like, yeah, bro, like, don't worry, like, you guys broke up like months ago. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm not even gonna try anything. She just wants to go to the party. And then he said, oh, okay, that's chill, but like, as long as like you guys don't do anything, because like that's not cool, you know what I'm saying? And I ended up telling him, don't worry, me and her won't do anything at all, I promise. Yeah, basically that's what I told him. I promised him it. And reminder, I'm a man of my word. I don't like breaking promises, but at the same time, just remember I said that, okay? Just remember what the title of this video is. Going on though, I remember after, you know, the next day, I remember the party was happening. It was the day of the party. Everyone at school was all excited and stuff, and you know, we ended up getting more than 50 people going, so it was gonna be an actual party, not like a Getty with like less than 20 people. I remember all hyped up and excited, and I remember the school day ends, we all go home, we all get ready. I ended up snapping the chick saying, yo, I'm gonna like pick you up at this time, like be ready. She gets all hyped up, she's like, oh my god, like I'll be ready, and like, you know, she's all excited and stuff. Me, I generally didn't care. I kind of just wore tight jeans and I think a flannel. I wore a flannel. I definitely wore a flannel, knowing me back in high school. And basically from there, I ended up going to my car in my blue Toyota Silica, driving to her house, picking her up, and she was wearing a really tight outfit. Like, holy cow, like you can see Mount Columbus and basically Mount Everest down there. Like, she was wearing a tight outfit. And from there, I remember we ended up going to my buddy's place, and we were all there. There was like 50 people. We were all drinking, hanging out, basically all having a good time. Now, this is where the funniest part happens, I think, and this is where things get really weird. I remember during the party, things were like kind of like getting slow and stuff. And then I remember my buddy walks up to me, he's like, dude, like we should do something. What should we do? And then some nitwit at the party, and this guy was like absolutely like a dummy. Like, he looked dumb, okay? Like, he was definitely like in some way weird. Comes up to us and he's like, dude, like we could play like a game together. Like, let's play like 7 minutes in heaven. What? You want to play 7 minutes in heaven? What are we, 12? Is what I told him. But then he's like, nah, like trust me, it'll be fun. It'll make us like get more closer with the girls. That was the most creepiest thing I think anyone's ever said, but I said sure, whatever. I remember the host of the party ends up standing on top of his table, his like little coffee table that he stood on, where there was like a bunch of beer cans already. By the way, don't underage drink, not a good idea. And he says, yo, everyone come together, we're gonna do 7 minutes in heaven. Yeah, everyone looked at each other and they're like, seriously? And some of the girls actually got excited, funny enough. So we all ended up getting in a circle, and we basically all started talking and playing. We ended up spinning the bottle, we ended up doing all that weird stuff, and basically we spun the bottle, and we spun the bottle to another person. Basically, they would get up, they would go to the closet, they would be there for like 7 minutes. God knows who knows what they were doing. Like, it got to a point where a girl had to readjust her bra, so you already know something was going on. And basically it ended up going again and again into a cycle. I remember as I was sitting down there, I was sitting beside my buddy, and basically I spun the bottle because it was my turn. And when I spun it, I remember it landed on a chick, but it wasn't any chick. And reminder, I promised my friend that I would never do anything with his ex-girlfriend, but the bottle landed on his ex-girlfriend. So I had no idea what to do at this moment. I remember I looked at him and he ended up staring me down with like dead beating eyes, saying, better not do anything, bro. That's my ex, bro. And I looked at him like, dude, I'm not gonna do anything. I won't do anything. I won't even lay a hand on her. Reminder, I said I wouldn't lay a hand. So I remember me and her, we stood up, we went inside this guy's closet. I'm not gonna lie, the closet smelled like absolute garbage, and it smelled like devil's tango. So we're just sitting in there. We're not sitting, we're standing up close to each other. And she's like telling me, like, as we're close up to each other, she's like, so like, what do you want to do? I ended up looking at her and I'm like, oh, well, you're kind of my friend's ex, so like, I don't know if there's any good idea to actually do. She ends up getting closer and she's like, I can think of an idea to do. And yeah, she ended up grabbing my eggplant, and one thing led to another. We ended up doing the devil's tango. But reminder, I won't lie to you guys. I kept my word. I put my hands behind my back and I didn't do anything. She did everything. I didn't do anything. And on top of that, not to mention, I mentioned I wouldn't lay a hand, not an eggplant. So yeah, that happened. And then the closet door opened. I ended up going out, and she ended up putting on her pants again. And when she was readjusting her pants, let's just say my buddy knew that something went down, and he kept asking me throughout the entire night, what happened, what happened, what happened. And I said the same thing I said to him before I even got into that closet. Dude, I promise you, I didn't lay a hand on her. Yeah, that's basically it. Honestly, there's always loopholes to what you could say, which goes to your word, but at the same time, it's better to be safe than sorry. Other than that, 7 minutes in heaven, still an iconic game, still play it to this day. I play with my Fortnite girlfriend a lot, but yeah, other than that, that's basically it. All right, guys, that's basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. And on top of that, did I mention to go subscribe to all the new channels are out? Bubba channel, go subscribe. Bubba Gaming, go subscribe. Crazy gaming content going on there soon. And I'm live on Twitch, so go click the link down in the description below. And like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories. All right, peace out, guys.
Let's go. Should I make it a story? Let's click record. Got that TikTok with 2 mil hit different with some more. She said she loved me. She